Greetings everyone, this is Riley Morrison. In today's video I'm going to be going over my sales data for the first 3 months of my launch, or just over 3 months, of my Lost Sun series, and I'm going to cover my AMS ads as well as Create Space, Draft the Digital and a whole bunch of other stuff. So this is to just show people what it's like for myself as a beginner author, and maybe my experiences is like yours or a lot of other beginner authors. So, and it's as well as for myself, so I can come back to this video in a year or two's time and just see where I was at the beginning of my author journey. So sit back and watch the numbers roll in. I mean, little tiny numbers. I'm not like Stephen King here or anything, so I don't expect like millions of dollars. This is the book section of my website, RileyMorrisonAuthor.com. Now these are the main books in my series that I've released so far, the Lost Sun series. This is Fall of a Lost Sun. I've probably made a mistake with that, as it's the prequel to the main Lost Sun series, but I've actually released it under the Lost Sun Adventures series on Amazon. So it is actually book 2 of this, Ruins of the Lost Sun being the first one. Now the reason I did this was because book 0 won't show up in the series list with these two books, Heir to a Lost Sun and Dawn of a Lost Sun. I don't know why, but Amazon won't show a book 0, or at least they won't show it if it comes out after these other books, because Heir to a Lost Sun and Dawn of a Lost Sun came out before Fall of a Lost Sun. Fall of a Lost Sun used to be my reader magnet book, but considering my low sales and low newsletter sign up, it seemed pointless just giving a book away for free that might be out there in publicly making me money. So I released it. Probably over 500 people have Fall of a Lost Sun, so a lot of people out there have it for free, which is great, but as far as I can see, it hasn't exactly led to any sales. It's probably a lot of free seekers getting a lot of free books and then not reading most of them, I don't know. So it's out there for sale now. So these are my main books, Heir to a Lost Sun, Dawn of a Lost Sun. There's going to be 2 more books in that series, but I've temporarily put it on hold. And then Ruins of a Lost Sun, which is a short side adventure I wrote for fun, really. I wrote it across 35 hours from start to finish, editing, all that sort of stuff, and then, a bunch of hours to look for a cover. Now this is my Author Central page, books page on Author Central on Amazon, so you can see the books and their current rank. None of them are doing very well. The worst one is Dawn of a Lost Sun, which is book 2 of the main series, which is at 1.2, nearly 1.3 million. So yeah, it hasn't sold a copy for a while. This is a new release. The box set came out maybe a week and a half ago. It sold 3 or 4 copies, depending on if you look at my ad data. My ad data says it sold 2 copies with one of the ads, but only one ever showed up. So yeah, I don't know what that's about. And my most recent book coming out is Fall of a Lost Sun. So since my books have come out, they usually bounce up and down in the ranks. They usually sink quite far, like into the 700,000 to 800,000, and then someone borrows or buys them, and then they bounce back up. Although Ruins and Fall haven't been out too long, Heir to a Lost Sun has been out about nearly 3.5 months now, so it's had a lot more ups and downs. Now I don't really promote Heir to a Lost Sun, or I don't promote Dawn of a Lost Sun at all now. I'm mainly focusing on promoting the box set, because I figure I can lose more money on ads on the box set than on the 2 individual books, and people may as well just buy them both together, as they're both together out there. And I did briefly just want to touch on the reviews here. Heir to a Lost Sun has got the most reviews, and it's got a 3.9 star average, and then most of the other books have 1 or 2. That's mostly from my number 1 fan, Melody Spencer. Thank you, Melody, for reviewing my books. And I had 2 ARC readers on Dawn of a Lost Sun, one of which was Melody, but another lady did the other review there too. So it's good that my books have mostly reviews on them. Otherwise, I'd probably have a bunch of books with nothing, as I have seen a lot of indie authors have no reviews. So I'm glad I have people out there willing to review them. I could probably try to get more reviews on some of them, but reviews aren't too important to me now. It'd be great if they got them organically, but they're not the be-all and end-all. There's just one other thing I wanted to say about the customers also viewed. A lot of my books have really weird customers also viewed. This is Fall of a Lost Sun, which doesn't seem to have too bad also views for the most part. If I go to my main book, Heir to a Lost Sun, its also boughts are pretty messed up, which may or may not have to do with the free promotion I did. I actually lost a lot of those also boughts when the free promotion ran. I got a whole bunch, mostly box sets and stuff, but yeah, I've lost a lot of them and now it's stuck with this. So there's a mix, Nicholas Sansbury Smith's, which is a post-apocalyptic book, and then yeah, that's space opera, I guess, so not the best. The other 3 are kind of meh, although this one's probably fine. Looks like epic fantasy, and I am selling Heir to a Lost Sun as epic fantasy, which Amazon seems to insist it is a post-apocalyptic or something, because these are the ads running with it, which seem to be mostly post-apocalyptic type stuff, and obviously a lot of AG Riddle stuff for some reason. This is my KDP sales data for the last 3 months. Heir to a Lost Sun actually came out on November 15th, but I can't go back any further the other 6 days. So this is close enough to the overall sales data for the entire thing. These are all my books, and some of these might look high, but this is 10 books at the top. So yeah, these numbers aren't exactly high. These are all my books, so there's been big periods of time where I've sold nothing, but I have had random borrows in this time, and a lot of these sales are Heir to a Lost Sun, though the spike in the middle around December 21st was Dawn of a Lost Sun when it came out, and then I don't think it's sold any since then. So these are all my titles, and these are the page reads on all my titles, and the average page reads per day since my book started coming out, and mind you, 99% of these page reads are Heir to a Lost Sun. The average daily page reads is 22 pages per day, so abysmally low. Now I'm just going to quickly go through the other titles. This is the sales data for Dawn of a Lost Sun, which came out on December 21st. So yes, there was a spike there, and then it's had nothing. I believe it's had 1 borrow between when it came out and now. Then my next title was Ruins of a Lost Sun, which came out on January the 14th. So initially it sold a few copies, a couple of which were me and my wife. So yeah, that removes 2. Overall, it hasn't sold well. It's probably sold about 9 or 10 copies. And this book I actually took wide with draft to digital, which I do recommend if you're going to go wide. Though that, mind you, they do take a percentage of any sales of books you actually sell. But for me personally, here's my draft to digital report since Ruins of a Lost Sun came out, and I have nothing. Though mind you, I haven't promoted Ruins of a Lost Sun other than on Amazon ads. And I never really thought it was worth it because it's a cheap book, and if I could spend $50 or $100 that I don't really have to promote the book and get next to nothing back in return. So going wide with it has been pretty much meaningless, pointless. But then again, only Heir to a Lost Sun really seems to get any borrows for Kindle Select. So it probably wouldn't have made any difference whatsoever had it been Amazon exclusive. So it's sold a couple of copies lately. I've been playing with my Amazon ads a lot and doing Dave Chesson's free Amazon ads course, which has helped a lot because I didn't know exactly what to do with all the data once I had it, and I understood how to get keywords and stuff. But anyway, I've learnt a lot from his course and I'm still doing it now, so that's netted me a couple of sales. So if I go to Fall of a Lost Sun now, It came out on February 13th, so it sold, looks like 5 copies, 2 of which were me and my wife. So again, not exactly setting the sales records on fire, and it hasn't had any borrows. But it's only just come out, and I've only promoted it with AMS ads. So I'll go back to all my titles now. So there's the page reads. There's been a few nice days, but most of them have been nothing or just 1 or 2 page reads. Some of which are probably my author friend Sean Mays, who did the Curse of Souls books, has been reading it. I don't know if he still is, but yeah. So some of those page reads where there's 1 or 2 a day are probably him. Alright, now my overall data of sales. This would actually be slightly higher because it's missing the first 6 days of Heir to a Lost Son's release, but we're probably only talking in the order of magnitude of maybe $10 or $8. It wasn't much. So $35, $35.50. The UK store has $2.99. I believe these are in local currencies, so I don't know what they are in US dollars or Australian dollars. 35 US dollars is probably a bit over $40 Australian. Mind you, I haven't been paid out any of these yet because I believe you have to reach 100 US dollars or something before you get paid. So I'm a long way from getting paid from most of these other stores. The only other significant one is Canada, which is $5.58, and then Australian store, which is basically $7. So yeah, not overly much. I've probably overall broken about even on my Amazon ads promoting my books, maybe slight profit. So yeah, nothing setting the sales records on fire yet, and I'm certainly not making a living as an author just yet. This is my reports from CreateSpace. I have sold some copies here, a lot of them to friends and families, though some of them I don't know who they're from. So overall I've made $22 US, and my brother, I think, who lives in England, bought the ones in Great Britain, so that's $1.15. And us Australians have to buy from the US store, so some of the people I know have bought it off the Amazon store. I've ordered copies myself, but they don't show up here. I just get them at cost price, special author deal, and I've sold a couple of copies in person and made between $2 to $5 profit off those sales. So again, there's not too much here, but I'm happy that I've sold any paperback copies to people I don't know. If possible, they were friends or family and they never told me, but yeah. It's better. I mean, I feel more of an author having paperback copies of my books anyway, and I can donate them to local libraries and stuff, which I intend to do at some stage. And I also have to give copies to the government for where they keep all the Australian authors' books in a vault somewhere. Here's my Amazon ads spreadsheet that I keep every day. I download the data. The ones in red are all ones that have been terminated or paused. These are the product display ads at the top here that are still in white, which never seem to get many impressions, even ones that have run for the full period of time they run for. I think it's usually two months or something, have barely got any impressions. Even when I've bidded like 25 cents or something, they just still don't get impressions, so I'm not sure what that's about, though I've heard they take a while to take off, and a lot of people have issues with them. Brian Meeks, thinks they're the best thing to use, better than the keyword ads, and yet maybe they take off for him, I don't know, but they've never really taken off for me. Now, a few of my ads have had bad returns on them, usually the ones that are high. ACOS, average cost of sale, have been ones where I've just promoted it at launch and the book's still 99 cents. But overall, I haven't really got too many sales from AMS ads. I can't remember the exact figure. I probably sold maybe 10 copies through it, maybe, all up, so not very much. But my biggest problem is my lack of impressions. This aisle here is the impressions, and as you can see, most of the impressions are pretty low before the ad just dies. I assume maybe Amazon figures my books aren't selling very much, so they don't promote them that much. Some of them have had reasonable clicks, but considering how much I hear other people get click-wise, my clicks are largely pretty low. And obviously this was pretty bad. This ad here, it had 56 clicks and no sales. I've changed my blurb quite a few times and my ad copy and everything like that, but Ed or Lost Son just doesn't seem to sell very much, so I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing wrong there. Whether it's the blurb, whether people are confused about what the book is. Amazon seems to think it's post-apocalyptic for some reason, even though the keywords and the categories are post-apocalyptic. So maybe, my ad keywords are mostly focused on epic fantasy, but I don't seem to get it. Maybe my cover sells too much that it's steampunk or something else. So the cover seems to get the clicks, but it rarely converts to actual sales. Anyway, down the bottom are the ads that are still running, and this is all a bit of a mess over here, but basically I've counted how many impressions during the day it's gotten, and how much I've spent, and how much, I don't know what that is exactly, but yeah, and how much profit I've made. So overall for the day, overall for these ads that are still running, I've made a net loss. But then I looked at the Ruins ad profitability, and I actually made a profit off Ruins of a Lost Son, even though it hasn't sold too many copies, and the profit is only $2.23. At least it made a tiny profit. Ruins of a Lost Son seems to be my best converting book, but again, the sales are really low, and it's not like I'm getting that many sales or impressions. It's just, the ads just never take off, really, for whatever reason. I mean, this ad did pretty well. It had 12,000 impressions, which isn't that high, and it had, out of 17 clicks, it had 2 sales, because that was when the book was 99 cents. So, which is pretty good conversion, 2 sales out of 17 clicks. And this has had 5 clicks, and it had a sale for when the book was $2.99. So again, that's damn good. It's just the ads always seem to die when they don't have many impressions, so I stopped getting clicks. My Fall of a Lost Son ad seems to be doing really well. I'll show you the most recent ad report. 17,000, so it got 1,716 impressions in the last day, but no extra clicks. But the problem with this ad is that the ad copy is bad, because it's the Lost Son Adventures Book 2, but in the ad itself it says it's the prequel to the Lost Son series, so that's kind of confusing. And I did make a mistake in making that ad, and it's had low clicks to impressions, a bit over 1,000 impressions per click. So I did make a second ad without that last part saying it's the prequel, just saying what the ad copy was. But that ad's never taken off, and it's probably because a lot of the keywords are the same as the main ad, so it's just not competing. And that ad's already pretty much dead, even though it only started a few days ago. So yeah, the bad ad's getting a lot of impressions, and I really don't want to pause it or anything to see if the other takes off, because at least it's getting impressions better than pretty much all my books have since the original Heir to a Lost Son ad, so I don't really want to mess with it. And yet, so far it hasn't converted into any sales, so although that book has sold a copy, so it's possible that the sales data hasn't come up yet, so I'm going to wait and see. But overall, I probably made about as much on my books, or a slight profit when you include paperbacks and everything else, on the Amazon ads, though the Amazon ads themselves, just by the copies I've sold through that alone, is probably, if I look at all my books, has definitely been a loss. So I have a long way to go with these ads to make them better and optimize them. As I briefly mentioned in my last podcast video, I am going to be releasing a lit RPG series soon. So I'm hoping that'll be the turning point of my author career, and that'll actually make a bit of money and do better with these Amazon ads than these books have done, the Lost Son books. So there you have it, all my sales data for the first 3 months of launch. As I alluded to at the end, just there, I am writing a lit RPG series, so that will likely be my next video, talking about that and how I did it and why I did it, writing to market and all that type of stuff. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment and subscribe, and take care.